technology, and resulting a 30% overall improvement on cost reduction on their operational costs, right? So here are some of our key clients from various sectors: banking, telco, hospitality, retail, FMCG, government bodies, and many more. So just zoom in what we are doing on our Kata.ai research lab. So we are embedding personality into conversations. Like we have this informal or casual persona. We also have this formal persona, for example, of course, in Bahasa Indonesia. And our AI is able to create this poem, okay? And funny thing, we won several local competitions with these AI created poems. And second, our AI just learned through some Twitter chats and Twitter posts. We could create some kind of like unfunny joke, just like this one. And we experimented a bit with automated machine translation. So we are able to translate this text or conversations in Bahasa Indonesia to English. Of course, it's not as advanced as Google is having today, but it's something that we're working as well internally. And then in Indonesia, there's slang language, or famously known as Bahasa Alay. So the funny thing is our AI could translate an informal language, something like this, a very casual one, into something formal with the power of GPT-2, one of the latest AI technology for NLP, resulting something like this, okay, from informal to formal. And we can do industrial context clustering because conversations is all about context. When I inquire about sympathy, there are 3 ways to classify this. In general, it's general inquiry. In telco, we're talking about a product from Telkomsel. In healthcare, I want to know more about mental health issue, about empathy. For example, the next one on the right side, please help me, I lost my phone. General classification, I'm asking for help. In telco, I lost my phone, then please block my number. That's what I need you to help, instead of me asking multiple inquiries. And the third one, in the case of banking, if I lost my phone, then please block my debit and credit card. So this is something that we are doing as well at Kata.ai. And we know that this is the age of multimodal experience. When it comes to conversation, it's not always about chat, but it's a combination of image, video, voice. So combining image recognition to chat is something that we are also providing at Kata.ai to make conversation, especially related to commerce, more seamless. We are very thankful that we have published a lot of AI research papers in global conferences, and I think around 10 right now. And these are just some example. So I think that's it about Kata.ai and a sneak peek on what we're doing in an AI front specifically. Thank you. Let's have a good chat and let's build the future.
Awesome. Thank you, Irzan. That was very, very insightful. Been a while I haven't spoke to you, and you achieved this much in this 2 years, I think. That's awesome. Yeah, let's start with the question and answers. If anybody from the audience wants to ask to Christoph and or Irzan, please go ahead and put the questions in the chat. But I have a first question that I would like to fire on for both of you, actually, because we are talking about AI. AI, is, of course, is a game changer. I see there's a rule base that Christoph is doing, and then he will try to incorporate AI as well. But then taking a step back, at least this is a very common misconception that I'm seeing in the market, which is the word AI is very loosely attached to anything. I'm me myself in a tech startup as well, and then I've talked to a lot of new emerging tech, new founders, and everybody else even in the common in the society, that they're always asking, oh, this AI here, AI there, AI here, AI there, but then they don't really know what it means, what AI really means. Like in how can we explain it? I mean, in your context, maybe Christoph, maybe I can start with you. If you have to explain then, like, what's a real AI, except what from Harald has already been said. I mean, what do you think? What classifies as an AI for you in your term? And also the same questions to Irzan after that.
From my point of view, it's an AI is getting more intelligent over the time. So I think this is the main classification, because the example we have seen at Betamax, you know, it's not possible for an artificial intelligence to give a feedback on a misconception from nowhere, yeah? Because you have a context in a question, you have a concept of a misconception, and you have a concept or a context to explain a misconception and to relate it to a mistake. And this is not feasible, yeah, to solve this problem by AI. You have to give an input, at least rules. Yeah, it's not possible, for example, if you have a self-driving car, to invent the rules if you have to stop or not. Yeah? So you have to set up these rules. And yeah, so I think the main answer is that an AI is getting more and more intelligent based on the data collected, and to identify pattern, yeah, and to react on this pattern, and yeah, to improve the behavior of the algorithm.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you. How about you, Irsan?
Sure.
Oh, you're on mute. Sorry, you're on mute.
Oh, thank you, Rian. So maybe I'd like to take a step back here. If we talk about AI, the perception of the people in Indonesia, there are two sides. One side, they think AI will take jobs, right? It will be the disaster, like the Terminator story. The other one, they see AI is like a magic wand. It can solve everything. But the reality, AI is just sit in the middle nicely as a tool. It's a technology that will be only useful depending on the user. Now, we talk about AI. We've seen a lot of hype words, buzzwords we've seen in the Hollywood movies. So AI is actually divided into two. First is the ANI or ANI, artificial narrow intelligence. Every technology that we face today, powered by machine learning and deep learning, be it image recognition, AI assistant, video surveillance recognition, self-driving car, it still falls into ANI. So one algorithm to solve like one particular problem. What we have seen in the movies, like we watch the Avengers or Iron Man, they have Jarvis, they have Friday, AI assistant that can do everything. That's a dream, that's a the Valhalla. It's actually AGI, artificial general intelligence. And based on the result and observation of the AI experts, we're still 20 to 30 years away before we are able to hit the AGI. That's the second thing. And the third one, AI will only work if we have a massive amount of data. No data meaning no AI. We train our own natural language initially, how we can classify multiple conversations after we analyze at least around 3 to 4 million messages. So without a big amount of data with being labeled, and it has to be something that we as human can think in 1 second, that's the answer. Then AI can do that. If we expect with limited amount of data to answer like a complex classification, to expect the AI to generate some emails in writings, some videos, I think we are not there yet. Okay, and then talking about companies is trying to use the AI buzzword. It depends, because I believe every software companies who are not utilizing AI, they will be left behind in the next 3 to 5 years. And the likes of Google, Amazon, like even Kata, we have been providing AI as infrastructure. So everybody can say that are utilizing AI, but which one? Is that image recognition, machine learning, natural language processing, speech recognition, or whatnots? And the other one, there are some companies like Kata who are building our own AI algorithm so we can provide to others. So I think that's my way of thinking and looking at the how the market perceive AI in a high level view, Adrian. I hope that answered your question.
That was great. Thank you. Thank you. Harold, do you have any questions from you?
Yeah, well, thank you for just catching this up. Two questions. The first is, how important is it for you in your startup, Christoph and Isan, the curation? Let's say You need responsible people who tell what to search for. So there has to be a dialogue in between those who program the algorithms and manage them, and those who analyze the market. Christoph, you said teachers are very important, and to identify the mistakes. So if you would like to talk a bit about how is that done, I guess it's not the algorithm who does it, but it's people who interpret what's going on in the market.
Okay, maybe I explain how we create new questions, and then I think it should be clear. When we create a question, first of all, it's paper-based. Yeah, so because if we have it on paper, we can do quick tests with students to check if the question is clear, if which problems occurs, and so on. But of course, our authors have also experience about misconceptions. Yeah, if you do private tutoring, for example, you know, oh, this is a typical mistake. So it means we can, when we create a new question, we can implement these known misconceptions. And then after bringing a question live or online, then we can collect data, and then we can measure by our learning analytics tool, are there mistakes where we can only give the feedback it's wrong? Because as I mentioned, it's wrong is the worst feedback we can give. And then we can take a look into inputs. And then sometimes we detect new misconceptions, unknown misconceptions, and then we can add new rules to our didactical algebra and geometry system. Or sometimes we identify, oh, our question is not well formulated. Yeah, there's something which is unclear. It's not intended, and there's no didactical value to create this unclarity. And then it's a reason to modify the question and to change it. So I think it's a mixture between own experience, then observation, and analyzing data. Did I answer your question?
Yep. Thank
You're on mute. Sorry.
You're on mute.
Sorry. No. Very important, as you said, analyzing, yeah, and then deducing from the analyzation what to go on. And this means, as Irzan, and that's would be the question to you, yes, you said, the fear that people will no longer be of use in their jobs is not there, because you need people who are able to be sensitive what's going on in the market and analyze and then deduce what to do. I'm wrong, or how you see that, is it?
Exactly, Harold. I mean, people think that AI can train on its own, can solve its own problem. But the reality, what we have today is what we call as supervised learning. That being said, we still need human labors to train the AI to, depending on the objective, be it the product or the business that want to achieve. So if we take a look in Kata case, the thing about AI is it can only predict as good as the labeled data, which is done by human labors. And this can prone to error, and this can lead to bias. So for every data that is being labeled, we have a panel of labeling, at least by 3 people who are the subject matter experts. In this case, they are kind of having this linguistic background. So I think that's how we do that. And then every conversation, depending on the use cases, we see what are the fallbacks, and we retrain it again. What are the things that are false positive, false negative, and this is how we approach in refining and keep on fine-tuning our algorithm so it can serve the purpose of the algorithm itself.
Does that good, Harold, for you?
Thank you very much.
All right. So Next questions. Well, there's one from the audience, but I'll ask mine. Then we'll jump on the audience. I think this is a very it's a new field in AI. Well, it's not quite new, but then we talk about it. The Hollywood movie talks about it, but then in the real life, the evolution of it, it's pretty fast. But we're not there yet on what Irsan talks about the AGI, the general intelligence. But then when we pull back on Christoph and Irsan on the first time that when you guys make the product, tell us about your experience. I mean, what was the what was the interesting you reach 70% of on the second attempt you can provide the students to answer 70% better correct, and then Irsan reached about 94 or 98 or 94% of accuracy, or 98, I forgot, Irsan. And then what was the process on that part? I mean on your first trial, the errors and all the experience that you take, can you take us a little bit more, like put us give us a your company's the way you achieved that absolutely amazing journey until you reach this point. um, Maybe you, Christoph, can start first.
Okay, sure. Yeah, so we started 12 years ago, and we thought, okay, we will do something to improve learning, and started without an educational background. And we were afraid then how complex this topic of learning is, and what you need to enable a learning process, to have all these interaction tools. There are over 100 interaction tools, or we created over 100 interaction tools and all these contents. But from our perspective, this was not the biggest challenge for us. It's more the educational system, because we are used in school. So it means teachers are using Bettermarks as a tool. And this is also important, to know artificial intelligence is a tool to support people. It's not replacing teachers, because it's not possible for a teacher to make, if you have a class with 28 students, to make individual learning with each of them. It's not possible. And in this way, Bettermarks is supporting teachers. But in the educational systems, you have the government making defining a curriculum. Then you have schools having a budget for textbooks or software, maybe. Then you have teachers deciding what they are using, but there are also colleagues. So it's a joint decision for which tools or for which contents this budget is used. Then you have questions of data privacy. What is when I use such a tool in class? What is about with the parents? Are they against it or not? Are they supporting me? What is with the students, with devices? So you have so many problems to solve until you can start to work with such a new system. And from my perspective, this was the biggest challenge. And now, due to the COVID situation, of course, everything changed. Now budgets are there from the government. And here in Germany, we have now 6 federal states offering Bettermarks to all schools. They bought it as a state license. And of course, this is a game changer. And now the next challenge is to train teachers to not to change your behavior, because I think this is always a fear. I have to change my behavior to work, and then we have to explain how to integrate a tool in. It's more replacing tools and not changing behavior. And this is now the next challenge. So you can see it was a long journey and with a lot of problems to achieve this point where we are now.
Interesting. Yeah. Yes. I'm part of the question is because running a product or like a startup, it's not just the product itself having the problem, right, Irsan? So I think you can
True.
explain. I kind of know your story a little bit from it, but yeah, please go ahead.
Sure thing. I think Kata.ai started as a B2C company back in 2015 to 2016. It was called YesBoss, providing a virtual concierge, virtual assistant over text. Through YesBoss, you could ask everything from food delivery, booking a flight, booking a restaurant table, even you can share your sappy love stories, like curhat in this case. And with YesBoss, we collected over 4 million messages. And we understood in order to make that kind of conversation scalable, it requires the capability of machine learning and natural language processing as two subsets of AI. But again, my message is that no data means no AI. So how could we acquire those data? So through YesBoss, we did it manually. We have over 50 customer service agents that are trained to handle the requests coming from the end consumers 24/7. So that's what we do back then. So we came to a point, we acquired enough data, our algorithm is there already, and we have some business results, some potential inquiries from enterprise customers for this technology, and we pivoted. We changed our direction from B2C to B2B to Kata.ai. And now we built this platform. And the question is, how do we drive the business result up to 90% of accuracy from one customer? The way we did it, I think, quite pragmatic. We have to learn first the interaction between the business and their on-can consumers with the help of their customer service agents. So we have to know what are their products, the style of the language that are coming from their customers, what are the typical intents. We are focusing typically on the 80% of the inquiries coming, the top 5, top 10. We train our engine to learn that, and then the rest, it will come in through iteration. I think no rocket science about it. But I think the funny thing what I can share is, we worked once with one FMCG customers. They're targeting like female millennial customers, so to speak, through a chatbot online. The target market is, again, the millennial and Gen Z. The funny thing about the Gen Z, when we ask for the credentials, we ask for name, gender, phone number, city, date, birth of date. The last part, we ask about their email address. 70% of them, they don't have email address and they don't know what email is. The Gen Z back then, it was like 3 years ago. So through the conversation, we learned that how people behave is different between one demographic to the other demographic, one social class to different social class. And I believe the power of conversation is a new way for us to build a better profiling about our consumers. And this is the next generation of building a persona for your own customers.
Thank you. That was the amazing story. I'll take some questions and then I'll move to Harold. The first one from Eve, from Dewi Ria for Irsan. The question is, compared with other countries in Southeast Asia, where is Indonesia's position in AI technology and business?
This is such a great question. Again, we talk about AI. It's quite accessible technology where Indonesia could thrive when we are able to build a technology that's very localized. So localized data that are not being able to capture by the likes of Amazon, Google, Microsoft, Facebook, and others. And this is the opportunity and where local AI companies could thrive. So rather than solving low-level tasks, AI, but rather something very localized. So at Kata's focus, we focus on language, but we are already thinking through two steps ahead, not only language, but combining language with local industry vertical data. For example, language with financial service, language with healthcare, language with education, language with retail. If you could combine those into an insightful prediction machine coming from the AI that could increase the bottom line of the business, I think that's the opportunity. To answer your question, it's just very, very early for today, and we are barely scratching the surface. Aside of the AI player like Kata, Noteflux, and others, AI becomes a luxury game, probably being monetized and captured by the likes of Gojek, Tokopedia, Traveloka, those big companies who are sitting at the gold mine of data. because that's the opportunity they are exploring right now. I hope that
Great.
answers your question.
Also,
Thank you.
yeah, you are also a language with math. So I think Christoph, I saw one of the Christoph point was to looking into context. I think um, solving Indonesian math problems as we speak in a localized way. I think Christoph has all the chemistry because math is an absolute science. It's A, B, and C. And then when we can incorporate the subjects to education, that would be a very, very interesting verticals that maybe you guys can explore. And I think this is in line with the last questions that we have. I hope to both from Eve to everyone. Projecting your startup in the future, if you have the power to engage a huge company, what collaborations are you expecting or hope in the futures? And also, the one of the questions that I have along this line is, at the end, looking at your products, looking at what you're building, what will be the wow and the something that at the end that you would like to see how your products can would be. I mean, the evolution of the product at the end, how smart or how intelligent, or how would you like to make an impact, and how would the product be the evolve of it? Because I know Ersan from Yes Boss to the consumer, but then he's coming back to the small medium. So how would you like to see it? Probably Christoph can start with that.
Yeah, great question. Yeah, so as I mentioned in the presentation, our plan is to create contents for new subjects, for example, language learning. And and there our goal is not to create all these pieces of software by our own. So our goal is to create a platform to enable startups and other companies to create adaptive learning material. And yeah, for this, I think it's the best way is to plug in other technologies and to use it in a way to enable learning. Yeah, because I think this is our expertise. Yeah, how it should be to create aha moments and to accelerate learning. And so from a technology point of view, it's to integrate other solutions and AI technology-based solutions to build a platform for other subjects or for the creation of other subjects.
Wow, I'm looking forward to see that actually. How about you, Ersan?
Yeah, I think in terms of the current context of our business, since Kata is expanding our market from the enterprise business to the SMBs, looking at the reports that the AI could deliver 365 billion US dollar of GDP to Indonesia by 2030, in which Indonesia's GDP is largely contributed by the SMBs. What I'm expecting how technology could enable the SMBs is to help them to increase their sales revenue and then improve their productivity. So I'm a fan of this idea of creating a decentralized commerce platform where every merchant could have their own channel that is delivering traffic, getting traffic, and also delivering sales to their own channel, rather than being dependent on this other platform like the e-commerce marketplaces on the on-demand services. So I think that's the goal for the current business. But if you ask me, the big dream of the technology is that text is just one thing. Second iteration is how we can do more with voice. A lot of voice use cases with voice assistants like Siri, Google Assistant, Alexa. But I think people are just trying to find a use case beyond controlling your home, beyond playing music, reminder, or alarm. Then that's the real opportunity with voice, because that's the real human, most natural interaction and I think interface to connect with machines. Once we get into voice, we talk about brainwave recognition. I think that's the next step. But I guess from chat to voice to brainwave transmission, that's the interesting part towards the AI technology, the way I'm seeing that.
Great. I completely agree with you. I'm in the sound as well. Voice, I think will be the next one to come. I'm with you on that one. And I think this is the end. It's about time. Thank you again so much for the time, Christoph and Ersan, for today. It will be. I think it is a very insightful. And Harold, thank you for the time. And I will give it back to Claudia.
Yeah, thank you so much, Irzan, Chris, Adrian, and Harald, for the session, this really insightful session, and also really interesting session. I think we could go on talking about this for the next few hours, and that probably wouldn't be enough either. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. Thank you to all of you listeners for being interested in joining our session. We hope that this is not going to be the last one of our exchange forum, and that we will be able to continue with these interesting insights. And at the end of the day, I really hope, and this is obviously also one of the aims and goals of this forum, is to create more exchange. So if you have any ideas on how this could be possible, how we can create more exchange. Irzan, for instance, has studied in Berlin. He knows German, so perhaps he can also bring some ideas to the table. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us today. Once again, thank you to our sponsors, the Federal Foreign Office of Germany, the German Embassy in Jakarta, the Goethe-Institut, the Frankfurter Buchmesse, as well as the Foundation at 17,000 Islands of Imagination in Indonesia. Thank you and bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone. That was great.
Yeah, thank you. That was great. Yeah. Hope you also enjoyed it, Chris and Harald.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, good questions, and thank you for this opportunity to bring the topic to the table.
Yeah, thank you for taking the time to share with us. Yeah, I really hope we can continue with this forum. So Adrian? He's gone.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think the idea you said, Claudia, at the end, maybe there could be exchange in terms of having usage of what Better Marks does, maybe also to places in Indonesia, and maybe have some exchange also concerning people in Jakarta working on AI. Christoph could use, and because that's always difficult to get people.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And maybe just for your background, our contents are, as I mentioned, available in English. And we mapped our contents also to different curricula. So we have a Cambridge mapping, so CIE, and also some other British curricula like IGCSE and international ones as well as IB. Because if there are schools in Jakarta, for example, following such a curriculum in English, then it's possible to use it and maybe to make a pilot or something like this.
Yeah. There are definitely schools, and I mean, the international schools are using English, obviously.
Yeah.
So this could be something of interest. Yeah, we just need to hang in there and do some more work on it.
Yeah, would
Very
be
good
great.
that you got now the how many 6 Bundesländer